So the objects that we'll be exploring today is that we are looking at the internment camp tools that came from the the escape tools that came from the Lethbridge Internment Camp. In 1916, there was a tunneling escape that occurred here in Lethbridge, where from the exhibition grounds where the camp was located, 6 individuals had tunneled about 100 feet out of the camp and had escaped. In fact, none of those 6 prisoners were seen again. So the objects that were at hand were a shovel, a tunnel fan, an auger for tunneling up once the prisoners were at the end of their tunnel, and a multitude of other objects such as a club, a fake gun, and other things that the prisoners were able to make with what objects they had around them.
So what kind of things did they improvise to create these tools?
There's a lot of different things that we see in these tools. Like there is, in the fan in particular, one can see how it was used and made out of crates. There's lots of scrap metal that was used to make the tools. String was used. In fact, there was another tool that was a saw, and that one was from a stolen knife from the kitchen in Lethbridge Internment Camp. It was used with these tools were made with about any scrap, anything that the prisoners themselves were able to find.
Okay. Now, where are these objects now?
The objects now are in the possession of the Galt Museum in Calgary. They were donated there in the 1960s by John Burney, who was the camp commandant at the time of the escape.
And what can you tell me about the AR and 3D technology that was used in this project?
So with the fact that we are here in Lethbridge at the Galt Museum and the objects are in the Glenbow in Calgary, we weren't able to get these objects to Lethbridge to use them for educational purposes, and we weren't able to give them to students as a means of education because of the delicacy and the uniqueness of these objects. So in turn, we use 3D and AR technologies, augmented reality and 3-dimensional printing to be able to bring these objects to life, such as this very rough copy of what's supposed to be a shovel, which it's not quite a shovel due to some editing errors so far, but by using these sort of technologies, we can create the objects in a form for using them for education. And then pairing that with augmented reality, which is where we can put the object themselves on a computer screen or an iPad screen, and we can move it around with our finger and see the dimensions, but also, unlike what 3D printing can achieve, we can see what the objects were made out of, and we can observe how it was made out of steel, how it was made out of like whatever scrap metal, wood, or pieces of crate that were used to make those objects. We can see that on AR and move it around with our finger to get the dimensions as well.
Now, how are these objects made into digital models?
So the objects themselves are made into digital models through a process of taking photos of the object. So if this is the actual tool itself, we would take pictures of the object around in a globe sort of a formation at different degrees. And then from there, we put it into a computer program where we're able to make digital models of those actual tools. And then from there, we can use whatever tech or apply whatever tech we want to make the actual models such as this.
So what is the benefit of these models?
Well, for this model here being a rough copy, not a whole bunch so far, but when we're able to get these sort of objects looking like they're supposed to, we can add them into education programs and exhibits, such as here at the Galt, where we're planning on making an education program to teach about the history of the internment camps, where we will give the students these sorts of tools and be able to give them like iPads with that model on there. So they're able to observe these objects in a more physical manner than just giving them a picture of it, and being able to get them more invested in the history to teach them about this part of Canadian history that we don't see as often within school systems and just within public knowledge.